Have you ever picked up an electric guitar fitted with active pickups, and as soon as you started playing, the guitar seemed to lack any push, any gain, any clarity? Well, everything that made that guitar sound great seems to be missing entirely. The most likely culprit? One of these, a 9-volt battery. Your guitar has literally run out of juice, and instead of having to scour the entire house, turn your gig back inside out, having to beg your bandmates or run to a store for a 9-volt battery, I'm going to show you how to very easily install one of these, a universal USB rechargeable battery pack for your guitar. Hi guys, and welcome to the Unquendor Guitars workshop. My name is Daniel, and in this video I'm going to show you how to replace the 9-volt battery that's inside your guitar or bass guitar with active electronics for the Fishman Universal USB Rechargeable 9-volt battery pack. I'm not sponsored or affiliated by Fishman, I just like their products, and I think this is a very good solution to never have to worry about your batteries again. The tools we're going to need are, of course, a soldering station or solder iron to do some soldering, some soldering tin or solder, depending on where you're from. Mine has a flux core, so I don't need any additional flux, but if you like to use additional flux to help with the flow of your solder, please do so. And if you're new to soldering, please check out this video right here that I have on how to solder guitar parts, an in-depth video explaining everything on soldering, and I'll make sure to also leave a link in the video description down below. Of course, we're going to need some nippers, some wire nippers, and if you have it, a stripper. Very handy can be these shrink tubes to cover up any joints we're going to make, any connections. Of course, a screwdriver, and maybe we're going to need some additional wire if there's some rewiring required in your cavity, depending on how full it is. We come to that later on. And two scary tools for any guitar owner is, of course, a cordless drill or something to drill with, and a 12mm or ½ inch bradle point drill bit. Make sure it's nice, sharp, and fairly new. And last but not least, maybe we are going to require a tiny piece of sandpaper. So these are all the tools required to install the battery pack into most of the guitars where there's no additional routing required. Now let's take a look at what comes with the Universal Rechargeable Battery Pack. Of course, it's the battery pack itself. It has a very strong double-sided tape on the back, so you can stick it anywhere inside your control cavity or on the cavity cover plate. Bit of wire sticking out with a connector that connects to the mini USB charger. This goes inside the guitar. Also double-sided tape on this side of the USB port. It has a little LED on which later, of course, all the charging electronics, and another connector on this side, and the connection for the battery pack on this side of the charger. What else is supplied? Of course, the required charger cable with USB-A on one side and the mini USB on the other side, and this goes into any laptop, any regular USB charger that you can use to charge your phone, etc. Another connection wire that runs from the charger to your jack output. So this is the main wire we're going to need to solder to the output jack. And there's a tiny bit of shrink tube, but it's very tiny. So if you have your own shrink tube, use that. And of course, the first thing we need to do is undo all the screws and open up the control cavity. And a quick little tip for if your cavity cover is stuck inside the cavity, don't try to pry it open, but use a screw of a larger size than the ones holding your cover in place. Put it in one of the holes and just twist it with your hand until you feel it hold on to the cover plate and gently pull. This is how you can remove a cover plate without damaging anything. At this point everything will be different for any one of us. Of course, every control cavity is slightly different, and this is mine control cavity, but the idea stays exactly the same. First thing we're going to do, of course, is find the 9-volt battery and disconnect it for the last time. Right now I'm not going to do anything with the wiring. First thing I'm going to do is remove the bracket. So the next thing is a bit tricky, and I really wished Fishman did make the battery pack the exact same size as a 9-volt battery, so it was much easier to place it inside the cavity. You really have to find a spot either inside the cavity or on the back of your cover plate where you can stick the battery pack to. And the same goes for the charger. The charger needs to be stuck to the back of the cover plate with a 1/2-inch hole drilled in the cover plate to give access to the USB port. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put the charger right here. There's enough depth in the cavity to fit the charger, and hopefully by turning these two pots a quarter turn, so this one is facing that way and the other one to the side, so I can create a bit more real estate right here to fit both the charger and the battery pack to the back of the cover plate. So I rotated these two push-pull pots a quarter turn, and now I should have enough space right here to fit both the charger part and the battery pack inside the cavity. And of course they're not going to sit loose inside the cavity. I can now stick them to the back of the cover plate. And now to figure out where to drill my hole, I'm going to first stick down a piece of masking tape on the cover plate. Right there, this is approximately where I'm going to drill my hole. And now I'm going to use a compass, something I forgot to mention with the tools we're going to need. And I'm going to set my compass from one of the mounting holes to approximately the center of my USB port. And now on my cover plate I'm going to stick my compass in that hole and draw a line right there. Same for this hole in this corner. Oh, it's practically the same. So in this mounting hole and where these two lines intersect, this is where my hole for the USB access port needs to go. Usually I would prefer to drill a hole like this on a pillar drill, but for the purpose of this video I'm going to show you can do it with just a cordless drill and a 1/2 inch, or if you're using metric, a 12mm drill bit. Make sure you have something nice and flat underneath your cover plate, like a piece of MDF, and very carefully place your drill bit on your cover plate and start drilling that hole. Here we are. So unfortunately 12mm is just under the 1/2 inch we need for our USB port. As it currently sits, it just wouldn't fit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a roll of some sandpaper. It doesn't really matter the grit, I prefer 180 grit, but anything will do. And with that roll I'm going to very carefully sand the inside of the hole we just drilled, and just until the USB port fits snug in the hole we just drilled. So it's time to do a dry fit. So without removing the paper backing from the double-sided tape, I'm going to put the USB port into the hole, and it should be tight enough so it stays there for a while. And I can see if I can close my cover plate, which I can. So now that I know my cover plate fits in the cavity with the charger attached to it, it's time to figure out where to put the battery pack and in which orientation. I want to put it in somewhere like here with the cord coming from this side. So I'm going to take a couple of measurements. Now from this edge to the side of the battery pack should be 55 millimeters, and from this straight edge to the back of the battery pack should be 30 millimeters. So those measurements I'm going to transfer onto the back of my cover plate. So here we go. Of course we have to take into account we're looking at it upside down. So it's 55 from this side, that's right here, and approximately 30 millimeters from this edge. Which is right there. So I'm going to make a mark. And right here. This is where I want to put my battery pack, in this orientation. And now hopefully this will fit next to it. So now that we know where everything should go on the back of the cover plate, it's time to stick everything in place. The only thing I always keep in mind is where I want to run my wires so they don't interfere too much when placing back the cover plate on the guitar itself, and how I want the USB port to look on the other side of the control cavity cover. I like the orientation to be like this, so the LED on top with the USB port underneath. And this also helps me to run this wire from the battery pack to the connector on this side. So I'm going to stick the USB port down in this orientation, and it's pretty easy. Remove this protective piece of paper, and this is very strong adhesive on this side, so you have only one chance to line everything up. So if you want, you can put down some lines, some guides to help you stick this in place, because you can see it's already stuck in place. This one's done. Now I'm going to connect the battery pack to the circuit board or USB charger. It only has one orientation, it won't go in the other way around. I know I want my battery to be as close to my charger as possible. Keep my lines in, my marks in mind. Yeah, this is the position I'm going to stick the battery in. So, remove the backing. So, the control cavity cover is ready. The hardest part is done. And the only thing left to do is solder in this wire to connect the electronics inside the guitar with our cover plate. So the first thing I'm going to do is determine how long of a wire I'm going to need. I don't want to be too excessive. And this wire needs to run from the connector on the back of the cover plate, like so, to mainly the output jack. So I think this is all the wire I need. So I'm going to snip it off right there. This gives me plenty of wire to put the cover plate aside if I ever need to do some work in the cavity. I'm going to disconnect it for now, put the cavity cover aside, and I'm going to unravel this for a bit. And I'm going to strip these 3 lengths of wire. 1, 2, 3. Give them a light twist and tin the ends. And to pre-tin the ends, I'm going to use my soldering iron, a drop of tin, and just make sure these ends are coated in a bit of your solder or your tin, like so. The reason why I haven't removed the original battery clip from the guitar is that we're going to use the existing wiring to help us wiring the new wire harness. If your guitar already had active electronics, thus a battery inside it, it will most likely have a stereo output jack, and we're going to utilize the stereo output jack as a switch to switch on and off the active electronics, same way it's now done with a battery. You can recognize a stereo output plug by having 3 connections instead of 2. This is a barrel type output jack, like I use in my guitars. And this is a more common one, and it has 3 connections. It has a connection for the ring of the plug, for the sheath or the shield of the plug, and for the tip of your jack. Same goes with the barrel type, 3 different lengths. The shortest one is the tip of your jack, the hold out. The one next to it is for the ring, usually so the second channel of your stereo channel, and the sleeve or the ground connection of the plug. Like I said, we're going to use the ring of a regular jack as a switch to switch on and off our electronics, just like it's done with a regular battery. So first thing I'm going to do is make that connection right here. So it's the black wire or the ground from your original battery that we're going to remove by just heating the connection and removing that black wire. For the new wire harness, we need to connect that white wire. And that's the big difference. We now have 3 wires instead of 2. Everything is already pre-thinned, so it should be easy to just heat up the lock, fit in the white wire, let the joint cool, and here we have a nice connection. Next step is doing the red wire. You can see the red wire from the battery clip is connected to the 2 red wires coming from the pickups. And these are the same for EMG or Fishman or any other active electronics. There are most likely 2 wires, 2 power wires coming from your pickup, going to your battery plug. So I've snipped those 2 wires. I'm going to strip them. Like so. And I'm also going to add a crimping tube beforehand. And I'm also going to pre-tin those 2 wires. And now I'm going to solder these 2 wires to the red one in our new wire harness. Maybe twist them together a tiny bit. And when these wires are properly aligned, solder them together. And when everything is cooled down, move the shrink tube over the connection. You can use either a lighter or a part of your soldering iron to heat it up. Very carefully, don't burn it, so it shrinks over the connection, making it nice and safe. So, something like this. So the last connection to make is for the black wire, and this is a grounding wire, so it needs to be connected somewhere to ground. We could use the back of this pot, but I like to use the grounding lock on top of this pot, just because it's nice and easy accessible. So make sure there's a bit of solder on the tip of the soldering iron. Align the wire and make the connection. So, and with that final connection made, all the wiring should be done. We can connect our cover plate with the rest of the guitar. Get it into the cavity. It fits. Now we can put in some screws and charge the battery. Fully charged. From this day on, this guitar will be fully USB rechargeable. No need for me to ever again hunt for a 9-volt battery, because on a single 3-hour charge I get approximately 250 hours of playtime. And as soon as I plug the guitar in and I see the LED start to flash red, I know I have approximately 6 hours of playtime left. So it tells me when I need to start thinking about recharging the guitar. I know this entire video might come across a full-on advertisement for the Fishman rechargeable battery packs, but I can assure you I'm by no means affiliated with or sponsored by Fishman to make this video. I had to buy the battery pack and everything with my own money. It's just that I think that it's such a quality of life improvement to have a rechargeable battery pack inside your guitar that you can easily charge with just a USB charger. I think it's brilliant, and as far as I know, at the date of recording this video, Fishman is the only company providing a product like this. That said, I hope you got some useful information from this video and it helped you to install your own rechargeable battery pack in your guitar. If you did like this video, let me know, of course, by leaving a like, leave a comment, question or suggestion in the comment section down below. And if you're new to my channel and you happen to like what you've seen, please consider subscribing and hit that little notification bell and set it to notify all, so you get notified when I upload something new. And of course, browse my channel, browse my backlog. There are tons of tutorials, including entire building series, and there's a lot to see and a lot to learn on my channel. So if you're new, go check out my previous videos, and I hope to see you, of course, in a new video. But until then, as always, take care and bye bye.